Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Now today we are going to be talking about the Overwatch League Week 11 matches for the Summer Showdown this time. And let's just get right into it, I guess. So first, before we go into that, we'll first talk about Week 12 and Week 12 matches. So the first one will be for the West, Paris versus Shock, Washington versus Atlanta. Then for the East, it will be Philly versus Guangzhou and Seoul versus Shanghai. For the West on July 3rd, it will be Paris versus Vancouver, Dallas versus Florida, and Houston versus Shock. July 4th for the East, it will be Seoul versus Guangzhou and Philly versus Shanghai. And on the same day on July 4th, Atlanta versus Dallas, Vancouver versus Houston, and Washington versus Florida. Let's now talk about the Week 11 matches, and there's been some pretty big surprises and just shockingness. Well, not really shockingness, but you'll see what I mean. This is the results that happened. So first, on June 25th for the West, Paris against London. It was a 3-1 to Paris. Is anyone surprised? No, no one is surprised because it is the London Spitfire. One pretty interesting surprise was the Gladiators versus the Shock, and that went to the Gladiators' way other than the Shock. Obviously, I'll be talking about a change that did happen for the Shock. Very close game, 3-2. It went all the way down to the wire, and the Gladiators are victorious. For the East, an easy 3-0 for the Hangzhou Spark against the LA Valiant. Seoul Dynasty struggling a tiny bit against the Chengdu Hunters, but didn't really mind as Seoul basically just swept through them. And another 3-2 against the Guangzhou Charge versus the New York Excelsior, and the Guangzhou Charge was victorious against NYXL there. Again, so on June 26th, this was possibly the biggest surprise, other than some other surprises I'll be mentioning. London actually fought against the Shock. Now I don't know if the Shock were actually were just trolling and everything, but it did went that all to the wire on map 5, and the Shock did win it. So it wasn't like just like, oh my god, London actually like did well. They did do well, but they didn't win. They still haven't won. So you can sleep well tonight, Shock fans. So Shock won against London 3-2. Another map 5 against Toronto versus Florida, and Toronto gets the dub. Aspire has been on the roll apparently. He's been doing really well. Boston versus Vancouver, an easy victory for Boston, but it was 3-1. For the East, a very shockingly pretty, I guess, a little bit medium easy win for Seoul Dynasty, a 3-0 against the Hangzhou Spark. The Chengdu Hunters obviously being themselves, winning against the Guangzhou Charge after failing to win against the Seoul Dynasty, and New York Excelsior getting a very easy win against the LA Valiant. Is anyone surprised? No. And finally for the West, Paris against Gladiators. This went 3-2, and it was a reverse sweep for the Paris Eternal, and I think they're actually in the lead. I'm shocked of how well Paris are going. Boston versus Florida, a 3-0 for the Boston Uprising against the Florida Mayhem. It was a full map though, but still, I am shocked of how well Boston has gone in this Summer Showdown. And finally, Toronto against Vancouver, a 3-0 Toronto, and once again, Aspire carrying game that match MVP. So I guess Toronto has actually found someone who's really good, which is Aspire, to replace Logic, who's I think is in like, I don't know. I suppose he tweeted out something about like he had something wrong with him. But not that shocking in the East, but a lot of surprises in the West, including Paris, Gladiators, Toronto, Boston, Florida, London as well. A lot of surprises there in the West region. For the East, not so much. I'm just all same. So let's have a look at the standings for each region. So let's first start with the West. In the Boston Uprising, have all teams are in the lead with 2-0s. Including Toronto and Paris, they are also 2-0. So basically, they're all undefeated. Gladiators and Shock are currently neck and neck in 4th and 5th. And down in 10th, 11th, and 12th, somehow London Spitfire is in front of Florida Mayhem and the Vancouver Titans. For the East, Seoul Dynasty is still undefeated. Then it's the NYXL Chengdu Hunters Hangzhou Spark from 2nd to 4th. Guangzhou Charger in 5th place. And who knew down at last it is the LA Valiant. Is anyone surprised? No one is surprised because it's the LA Valiant. So I guess we'll talk about all of the roster changes that has happened during the off break after the June joust. While I'm actually getting up the full standings of each region. So first up, it was London Spitfire move mainly just more two-way contract players, Hybrid and Shax. They both have they both now have a two-way contract. I don't know who I don't know who they're gonna partner up with Blase, but I think it's gonna be Sparker if I remember correctly. So nothing really changed on that. Some changes with the Chengdu Hunters. Kaneki has now been demoted to the academy team of Team Chaser, and Taro Cookie will be now playing for the Chengdu Hunters. His debut was with Chengdu against who was it? Guangzhou? No, sorry, Seoul. Seoul, sorry. So I think Seoul, Taro Cookie had it was the first time for them to be in it. Next up, Guangzhou Charge signed Sung Woo as their coach after Neko obviously left. So Extra and Sung Woo there now. I guess that's Guangzhou Chargers coaches. Next up, we got Agape leaving the San Francisco Shock as the assistant coach. Spilo will be now the new assistant coach for the London Spitfire to replace Reprise, who retired. Beast has now retired as well from Overwatch. Godsby has left the Hangzhou Spark to become to be a free agent. Striker has retired from Overwatch, and replacing him, the man is back from Valorant T1, Ons. So Ons is now back in Overwatch. Striker has retired, including Beast. I don't know where they're gonna go, but I do wish them luck in their next future. Hopefully there's a break from gaming as a whole. I think Beast is. I don't know about Striker, but I think Beast is gonna be taking a break in gaming as a whole. And so yeah, I do wish those two players luck. I'm really happy that Arns is back in the Shock. Obviously back in the Overwatch League. I don't know if Valorant was good for him. But he did leave T1, and a lot of changes are actually for T1 in Valorant, but I'll be talking about that maybe in another video. But yeah, I'm really happy that Arns is back. Better than ever, I'm gonna guess. And I think his first match was up against the Shock, or the Gladiators, or Spitfire. I can't remember. It was one of them. I don't know. But yeah, so I have the full standings for each of the regions, and here it is. Here they are. So let's first start with the West. And the West, London Spitfire, Dallas Fuel in the lead, obviously with 10 points. Shock with 8. Houston with 7, including with the Gladiators, both have 7. Toronto, Justice, Boston, Paris, Atlanta, and Florida all have 5 points. Every single one of them have 5 points. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's gonna be close. I just want to say that's gonna be very, very close. London and Vancouver obviously still has 0 wins, so that means 0 points. For the East, Shanghai Dragons still in the lead with 11. Seoul Dynasty with 8. Philly and Hangzhou both have 6. Chengdu with 5. New York with 4. Guangzhou with 3, and Valiant obviously with 0, with no points because they have not even gotten any wins yet. So basically, it'll be the Shanghai Dragons in the lead, and if it was like normal Overwatch League, but it isn't, then it'll be Dallas Fuel second. So I think a little bit of a rivalry there, getting Dallas versus Shanghai. I cannot wait for them to, just beat up again, especially in the playoffs when everything matters. Cannot wait. So that's really it for me now. Those are obviously the matches. So obviously these are the matches which will be appearing. Um, I need to be careful. So these are the matches which will be played next week. I guess some very interesting matches. Like I'm gonna say Vancouver versus Houston. That's gonna be a pretty good one. Paris versus Shock. See how well Paris actually does against San Francisco Shock. Houston versus Shock. Um, Seoul versus Shanghai. Philly versus Shanghai. We just have to wait and see really. And really, and we also have to see if London, Vancouver, or Valiant are even going to get any wins in this season. But I think at some point, when London and Vancouver both verse each other, one of them will have to win. So that's it for me now. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Catch you guys on next time in the next one. Goodbye.